Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Shut Up and Do It podcast, where we talk about all things real estate and business with a focus on motivation and getting it done with a shut up and do it attitude. My name is Nick Aalerud, principal with AA Real Estate Group and the founder of CompleteDealFlowSystem.com, a buyer of the greater Boston area, Pennsylvania, and Florida and beyond. I'm here today with a friend of mine and a colleague. Guys, check this out. Crushing it in a small market. I once heard about this market back when I was doing my multifamily days because it was called an emerging market back in the day. And it's, tell me if I said this right, Jared, Mobile, Alabama. Was that accurate?
Mobile. Yes, sir. You got it right.
Jared Irby has a great team down there. He's crushing it in wholesaling, rehabbing. I'm seeing him fly planes all over the place down there. I know he's bought and built and sold a bunch of businesses. I'm thrilled to have you on the show, man. Thanks for joining me.
Man, I'm excited to be here, buddy. I'm with the belt champion for Collective Genius, man. I love it.
Appreciate that. Well, you helped me obtain that belt, and I appreciate that too.
I'll put my vote in for you.
Thank you, my man. That's awesome. Jared, first things first, man, would love to hear your story. What got you into real estate, or what got you into business in general?
Sure. So I actually was in business before real estate, and I got in as doing internet marketing, that kind of thing, and ultimately had a call center where we did telemarketing, telephone sales, collections, and something called business process outsourcing, which is basically like doing customer service for other companies, that kind of thing. So I got started in business, and I started making a little bit of money, and the smart thing to do seemed like to be to flip a few houses with the cash, and also to buy some rental houses. So that's kind of how I, came to know about real estate and get started, was kind of just accidentally, kind of personally investing some cash.
Did you see anybody else doing that, or did you read a book or anything? Or you just sort of said real estate seems like a good spot?
Yeah, sure. So, I read some books, and I was going to do stock market kind of stuff. And in fact, I did a little day trading, and I lost all my money. So I was like, this is a horrible thing. This is more like gambling. And then, started doing some research on real estate. And I was like, man, that's what I want to do. In fact, I saw one of these investors on one of these like first flip this house kind of show, and he had a little helicopter and he was flying it, and his kids were like sitting on it was a beautiful house on the water. His kids are like jumping off the helicopter using it as a diving board. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. So that was kind of what really kicked me into a high gear to want to figure out how to pull it off as a job.
That's awesome. The picture perfect vision of ourselves, right? I like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, man, that looks awesome. So
speaking of vision, I'm just going to come out here and say it. So this is the first time we've had a guest on the show who works in a very creepy old abandoned like cotton plantation or something behind him. And he's got this awesomely creepy mirror. And guys, guess while you guys are watching, you got to check to see if there's like, I keep seeing like faces in this mirror. Like you got to keep watching this while we're watching Jared. It's awesome. So any hauntings? You have any hauntings in your place?
Yeah. So the building was built in 1859, and so pre-Civil War, I believe. And it was a cotton broker that built the house. And so it's not like an actual plantation, but it is a mansion, and it's downtown Mobile, just right in the thick of downtown. It's like an old townhouse kind of setup. And there's a carriage house out back, and they say that a guy got hanged off of it in the 1800s. And there was a horse thief trying to steal a horse, and so they hanged him. And that it's true enough that we've seen like a newspaper article and stuff like that about it. And it's been all kinds of things. It's been a whorehouse. It's been a chicken fighting ring, a boarding house, like all kinds of stuff throughout the years. And so right now it's fixed up, and it's really nice, and it's set up as our office upstairs and an event space down below. So it's a cool building for sure.
So this might be leading into the how you built your business questions, but how did you guys end up with the building?
We sent a postcard. Right. that's we sent a postcard and to a lady, and she said, well, I don't want to sell my house, but I've got this other building. And she had, acquired it through a bankruptcy auction or something. She was a very wealthy, woman in town. And she was kind of just using it to store all of her antiques and everything. And we made a deal with her and bought it from her, and got a pretty sweet deal for both of us on it. She ended up making quite a bit of money on it because she bought it at a bankruptcy auction for half price, and we still got a great deal on it because we kind of had good timing. So it ended up working out for everybody.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me the story, Jared, from you going in from, your call center business and as you forayed into real estate, you saw that was kind of a good way to do investments. And what was your transition like there?
So I started off just really investing some personal money, and it was kind of just a part-time, gig. I started off flipping, one or two houses here and there just as a way to make some extra money. Then I started using that cash to buy some rental properties. I didn't even have any leverage at the time. It was just buying some $30,000, $40,000 houses for cash and renting them out. And I started doing 2 or 3 deals a year, and I still had another business that was pretty successful and growing good. And we just kind of accelerated over time to where, at one point, at the peak when I was still doing it part-time, probably doing it 15 deals a year, maybe even up to 2 deals a month kind of situation. And then at some point, probably 4 years ago or so, we had a really big downturn in our business, our call center business, and some rules and regulations changed. And it just didn't make sense to continue that same exact format that we were going. And so it really just made sense at that time to really pivot. And we were going to have to make a big pivot in our business anyways, and basically redesign it from the ground up. So at that point, I was like, screw it. Let's just go into real estate, which is what I really love anyways. And that was probably about 4 years ago. And now we're, kind of quickly built up to doing well over 200 deals a year now.
200 deals a year. And what's your what's your market?
We're in Mobile, Alabama, which is probably, I don't know, 500,000-600,000 people. And then we're also in Pensacola, Florida, which is next to the east of us. And that's probably about 400,000 people in the metro area. So less than 1 million people.
It's still pretty good. So one company is doing 0.5% of the business of all the population in your MSA. That's not bad, my friend.
I think we got a long way to go too. I think we've got massive opportunities. So we've got some ideas on how to double, triple, quadruple even.
So when you started the business, was it just you, or did you have anybody helping you out?
I had an assistant that worked for me from my assistant from my other business kind of came over and she was with me and that was pretty much it. And to be honest, at that point, I was probably buying 2 or 3 houses a month from the auction. When that business wound down, I had some more time and I made fairly wise decision money wise and had some cash. And so I was buying them on the courthouse steps. So, I was running around looking at houses, making bids, that kind of thing. And then we'd buy them, fix them up, flip them. And then I discovered wholesaling. And I had done probably by this point, well over 100 deals, over a 10-year time span, 15, 12-year time span. And I had never even heard of wholesaling. I mean, I knew people flip properties quick, but I just didn't know what it was. And it was just me and my assistant. And I put an ad out on Facebook, boosted it and said, hey, I want to buy your house. Call me 251-333-CASH. I buy houses, and got a bunch of leads off of it, went out to the houses, learned how to, negotiate, which I've probably already pretty decent at from business, and went out and ended up buying a couple houses off of that first Facebook ad, and then didn't really know what to do with them because I kind of already had my pipeline full of what I could do construction wise. And I'm like, well, crap, I'll just, send a list out or send it out to the list of the guys I know from down at the auction that buy stuff, and boom, wham, bam, thank you, man. It was done. So.
That's awesome. It's funny how people start from different tracks in real estate, right? Some people, in your case, similar to my case, start in rehabbing and then put it back into wholesaling as like, what do I do with these leads or these deals when I'm at capacity, right? With funding or time capacity. Some people, they'll start the other way, right? They have no resources except for time. So they start from the very bottom on the grinding it out, trading your hours for money type track. But it's good stuff. Well, first of all, I always like to ask people, you must have had a good, like one solid good rehab story of a rehab that didn't quite go as planned. I love that. Sure. There's got to be one.
Well, I mean, I've got all of them if you really want the truth, right? I mean, the first one I ever did didn't, go as planned. I mean, I've lost money on probably my first 5 deals, I take that back. I've still got my first rental I bought. So I've probably technically made money on it now, but that took 12 years to dig out of the hole on it. So, the first, I'll just give you an example. The first deal I ever did, I overpaid for it because it was like '07. Didn't really, I also had no idea what I was doing. I had no education. I had never been to a seminar. I had never been in a mastermind. I had never read a book on this. I mean, other than like, I think I read Rich Dad Poor Dad about, rental investing and stuff. I had never done any research at the time. There wasn't a ton of internet resources that I at least knew about. So I really kind of went into it just wild, wild west cowboy style. And
Kiyosaki did it. He says it's a good idea. I'm going to do it too. I like it. That's good.
Exactly. And I don't know if he likes to flip houses, but I was like, I want to flip a house. So I found a deal. I told a couple people that I was looking for a house to buy. And then I went in and I think I got, the first deal I got was from my parents' preacher's wife. One of her family members had passed away, left it to her. And she had a tenant in it now, and the tenant was paying kind of a below market rent, and the house needed a lot of work, but it was in a great area. So I ended up making a deal with her over a couple weeks to buy it. But, I end up overpaying for it. I really underestimated the rehab price. I overestimated what I could sell it for, but I still got a good deal. So anyways, I buy the house, the tenant, I realize I can't just make leave because at this point I've never been a landlord before. Now they're in like a 6-month lease. So I've got to wait like 6 months, before I can even do anything on it. And then they, like take a while longer to get out on top of that. And so it's just dragging on and on forever. And then we kind of went and did, some really dumb renovations. Like we added a bathroom where there wasn't one. It was a 3-1. So we added a bathroom, make it a 3-2. But like we covered up a window in the process. Like, so on the outside of the house, it looks like there's a window. On the inside, it's like a shower, so it's kind of, it's like, it just wasn't laid out right. I used these kind of just retarded contractors, and excuse me for not being politically correct, but
we're not politically correct up here, so I love it. Keep going.
These contractors, are just complete idiots that we use to begin with. Went massively over budget. They completely screwed us. The work was subpar. So we had to like rip it all out, do it all over again. We painted the brick because it would look good, but it was really didn't need it at all. Just did dumb things. And then it sat on the market for like 9 months because I priced it too high. Even though my realtor was telling me, you're never going to sell it for that. The market's going down at this point. Fortunately, I have reserves and my other business is making money, but it ultimately just ended up being a giant freaking headache. And that probably would have stopped most people, I would think. But during this whole deal, I was like, man, I'm a real estate investor now, because now I got all this time waiting for the tenants and stuff. I bought my next worst investment during that deal, which was I bought my next 2 worst investments during that deal. I bought a piece of land that was like 23 acres and in a good area, but it was like this kind of idea to put a subdivision there, but I didn't actually ever walk the property, because you couldn't get back to it because there was no access to it. Right. And I was like, well, I'll just hire a lawyer. I'll sue to get access and it'll be a done deal. Well, it turns out the person who was blocking our land, while he wasn't in a position to really negotiate financially, his sister was a very good attorney and stopped my whole plan in its tracks basically instantly. So I ended up owning that piece of land. I paid $100,000 for the land, which would be an amazing deal. Probably 2/3 of it was wetlands anyways, which I knew about, but end up selling that for $10,000 plus 2 lots that are probably worth $10,000. So kind of traded it. And I didn't sell it until like 8 years later too. So, I've sat on that forever. And then I also bought my personal house, which, during this whole time, and end up, losing close to 6 figures on it to not instantly, but, over the course of time, bad timing. So that was kind of, I would say those first couple deals were like, really, really devastating, to get into like that.
Oh man. Well, it's funny. You mentioned personal house. I've had, a few personal houses now, and they usually start out by being rehabs. And then you start to realize there's someone else maybe is in the picture, like a girlfriend or something. And they start looking at it and all of a sudden your budget doubles and you have to move in. And so you always lose money on the personal house.
Yeah, no doubt. I've had a few now too. And it is what it is. So it's just,
Yeah.
I still think that, personal residences are not great investments, to this day, which goes counter to probably real estate thinking in general. But I tend to agree with you that I've lost money on in my current house. I haven't lost money because I haven't sold it yet, but I built it from scratch. It's just the way I want. We're on 10 acres, a big wall around the whole thing. I've got a huge workshop, a pool. I love it, a pond, but there's no way I would ever be able to sell it for what I've got in it, frankly.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoy it. So, but you can't look at it as an asset. It's definitely like your place to live,
Gotcha.
So.
10 acres with a wall around it? Damn.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I
Wow.
say a wall, it's an 8-foot fence. So,
Hey, that's good enough.
yeah,
I think 10
it's
acres.
a border wall. It's a border wall. So.
It keeps all the Georgians out or something like that.
Yeah. It keeps the Auburn fans out. That's really what it's for.
That's awesome. I'm thinking of what 10 acres up here. I think it's at least the entire city of Boston. I'm trying to think
Easily. Yeah, easily. Yeah, it's a whole zip code up there for sure.
Man, that's crazy. I love it though. This is
Yeah.
cool. So tell me a little bit about your business now, Jared, and if were there any bumps in the road getting to where you guys are today? Like you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, massive amounts of problems. I mean, if you haven't, figured out anything about me, and honestly, you're the same way because I know you, but you're kind of a act first, think later kind of guy, I imagine. And
The Shut Up
I
and Do
am
It
too.
podcast for a reason,
Yeah,
right?
you're the name of your podcast, right? Shut up and do it. Like, don't think, just do, right? And so that's kind of me. And which isn't a bad thing as long as you surround yourself with the right people and you do think at least one step ahead. You don't have to have the whole planned out. I'm a big fan of taking action and just shutting up and doing it. But yeah, so it's been a lot of the problems we've had have been caused by that type of attitude, over time. But at the same time, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't just, like you said, just shut up and do it. I mean, all your mistakes are really, kind of what shape you and mold you and get you to where you're at now. So, I mean, we've made hiring mistakes. We've hired the wrong people. We've put the right people in the wrong positions. We haven't managed well. We've had lead sources that just, we blew money on. All these deals I told you about where we wasted, capital on. There's other deals we've lost money on. We don't lose money often now, but we lose a lot of time on deals. There's projects we get sucked into that maybe we ultimately squeak out a break even or a little bit of a win, but it cost us just a year of our life to make it happen. There's been lawsuits along the way. There's been just all kinds of drama, theft. I mean, just all kinds of things that we could have controlled, that just happened to you in this business. But overall, it's all been a learning experience and a journey that's kind of got me to where I am today and got our team to where we are today. So
You nailed it. It's funny because I literally just got finished teaching my 5-year-old how to play chess, which was like, he brought it up. I wasn't like going to do it. And like, he's also has a type of personality though, where he hates to lose, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I had to make the call as his dad, right? I had to be like, well, do I let him win and he's all proud of himself? And I did that the first 1 or 2 times so that he still wanted to learn how to play. And I kept wanting to teach him, but now we do this just to relate it to your story. Like I had to make this call, like, you know what? I'm not going to let him win anymore, but I'm going to have a talk with him first. Like you only learn when you lose. So
You're right, man. No, you're 100% right. Look, I love to win. I really do, but I hate to lose. And, it's a weird attitude because most people either are so afraid of losing that they don't do anything or they love to win so much that they just take all the wrong actions. But, I have a balance there and I do the same thing with my kids. I don't let them win anything, I'm honest with them, but if I'm some things are better at me than, they could probably outrun me at this point, but there's some things that they can win on and beat me, but I don't just let them win at a game just to win the game. I want to, if we're playing tic-tac-toe, I'm going to show them, hey, you should have got the middle, so it's not my fault you didn't. And, so I think that's good to, really start from a young age and really, really know you want to win, and that's kind of how I grew up too. It wasn't like super competitive, but we always had to make sure that we were always moving forward. We were always learning, that kind of thing. So it was I think my childhood's definitely helped me and shaped me to who I am now. So I think that's awesome that you're doing that for your kids.
No, that's cool. It is fun to talk. We don't have any guests that have ever even chatted about kids, and that's probably a whole nother conversation for another day. But that's cool. Yeah, it's tough. Tell us about your current business now. Then, so you kind of forayed into this. You were a rehabber, then you started learning how to wholesale things, and then you're like, there's probably a whole another sect of the business, or how to drive this business. And how did you get there?
So I will say, being in a smaller, maybe you can be, but I'm not as specialized maybe as some other companies. We kind of do a lot of everything. We still do a fair amount of rehabbing, a couple houses a month that we rehab. We're still acquiring rentals, probably I'd like to buy more, but we're having some property management kind of issues at the moment that we're working through. And so we'll scale that back up. But we still acquire, more than 10 rentals a year. We'd probably do a lot more once we get our other game going right. And then, we're on track to wholesale probably over 200 deals this year. So we do a ton of wholesaling. We also do some private lending, where we, take positions in some of the deals that we send out. We're doing like little JV partnerships here and there. I've bought multifamily apartments, done repositions on those, still own. We do our own property management. We do commercial stuff. We've got a couple office buildings and office space that we own that we lease out. Land deals, we're flipping land and stuff like that occasionally, doing some subdividing. So really a pretty broad mix of all kinds of stuff as far as like how we generate revenue in the business. We've also started a realty team as well in the last few weeks. So, that's one thing that we're looking to scale up pretty big as well.
That's awesome. One more strategy. So I fell into the real estate brokerage world, retail, right? And I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but it's funny because it's similar to wholesaling, where you have those guys that kind of start out retail, like our mutual colleague, Tim Hardman out of Atlanta. He's crushing it. Yeah. He starts off with like these massive retail branch and wants to shift gears into investment. And it's funny because you and I came from like, we've got all these leads, right? Like, what do we do?
Yeah. And that's where we're at. I mean, we're generating, a massive quantity of seller leads. And so, you can't close everyone, and you can't even close a high percentage. If you're closing, we might set an appointment for, 30% of the leads that come in, and then close, 15% of those. It's a fairly low percentage of if you get 100 calls, you're only closing one or two deals, 2 or 3 deals, whatever it is, but all these other people have a house that they want to sell. So it seems like a great way to capitalize, on those opportunities. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's all about, as you just mentioned, right? You get lead flow or deal flow first, and the sky's the limit. Wholesaling, listings, that's kind of the whole point of the game. But this is cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have it split up? So your company right now, do you have it split up into individual departments or people in charge of each?
So we have divisions. It's called Irby, the Irby Group, and that's not probably a legal entity. It's just a group of companies, and so we've got Irby Home Buyers. That's kind of the main arm. There's like a couple holding companies for all the rentals and that kind of thing. The realty team, the lending division, all that kind of stuff is separated a little bit. But we've got one COO, Ren Bartlett, that kind of runs everything under it. He really handles like all the day-to-day kind of nuts and bolts, making sure all the pieces are moving the right direction, holding our team accountable, that kind of thing. We also have a really great sales manager who handles, selling properties and buying properties. He's over the acquisitions department and the disposition people. So we've got a really amazing team that kind of runs everything day to day.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Was it different? When did you know you had to make the switch to getting a chief operating officer or an operations person?
Well, so I've been in business a long time, and I've had several large businesses that were, over 100 employees and that kind of thing. And so I knew from day one that I was going to turn this into a big operation. And I honestly, was on the search for that person from day one, basically. basically, because I know I'm not an operations guy. I mean, I just don't have it in my blood. I'll be honest. Like I can pull it off when I have to, and I can throw Hail Marys and connect plenty of times. But, I know that that's not the way you win, is not Hail Marys. The way you win is like consistent base hits, day in and day out. And so, kind of knew from day one that I needed that person. I tried out a few different angles that didn't work out with the wrong team members. And then, stumbled upon, my current COO and also business partner now, that's really taken things over. And he thinks different than I do, and we think similar, but he kind of has a different skill set and a different mentality, and it's perfect for that. I'm perfect for this. It's a very good symbiotic relationship. So it's not required to be successful, but 1 + 1 usually equals a lot more than 2 if you get the right people in the equation.
Totally agree there. That's awesome. So yeah, for not a lot of our guests have done what you've done and like kind of built these businesses before, got them to a point, and you sort of already had it ingrained in you to find the strategic partner no matter what, or the strategic role to help you kind of take things to the next level, while you were kind of out banging the pavement, doing it with your vision, right? Like the culture, trying to make sure that, setting the tone for the company. You have those good guys behind you, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Look, and you can certainly hustle your way, small business wise. You can hustle your way and make a lot of money, maybe even more than I make. Right? It's entirely possible, and you can do it solo. It's entirely possible. I was doing it solo for a while too, but when you get the right partner, your life gets easier. Everything gets simpler. Things run smoother. You have more people that are at stake in it as well that want to see it win. So it's not all on your shoulders. Because it's kind of lonely at the top, right? And so it's nice to have some other people that are lonely with me, right? So and that makes me feel good knowing that there's other people that are just as good as me that could go do their own thing in a heartbeat. Like Ren is completely capable of running his own business. Paul, our sales manager, completely capable of running their own business. I'm completely capable of running my own business. But with all of us combined together, we can do some pretty amazing things. In fact, a lot of our employees are capable of running their own business. And, so I really look at that, that team perspective, like, hey, we've got to add these A players in. And when you do that, just crazy, awesome things start to happen.
Nailed it, man. I love it. I love that. You mentioned Hail Marys and everything. I'll just say this, everything I ever needed to learn about, quick drives, I learned from my quarterback, Tom Brady, New England Patriots. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I hear you. I know you're a Patriots fan. We don't even have the NFL. We have real football. So
I get it. Yep. I'm learning. Roll Tide. I'm learning.
Yeah, we finally have a quarterback, which is pretty amazing. We still don't have a kicker, but we finally have a quarterback. But dude, we've won national championships with pretty mediocre talent on the quarterback position. But it's setting all the right pieces up, and it's not one player winning the game. It's, you just got amazing talent throughout that is just extremely capable, and it's all working together and flowing one direction, dude. That's how you win championships,
I appreciate that for sure. Absolutely. Jared, I'm going to transition to ask a couple of quick fire questions, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
We ask a couple of these, some you can think about, some you don't have to think about, and these were not set up beforehand, so you have no idea what we're going to ask. One of them is my personal favorite, and it might annoy some of my listeners, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to ask it anyway because I shut up and do it. Your favorite purchase that in the last 1 to 3 years that has been under $100, and you can't use a book because a book's a separate question. Should ask the book question first.
My favorite purchase under $100.
That is like change your life or change your business or something that you just really appreciate.
Yeah, I'll say I bought somebody a drink at a bar, and which is kind of a weird thing, but just sat down and had a great conversation, end up being, great friends afterwards, potential partners and deals, but it's given me a ton of just amazing advice. I would say that's probably my best purchase under $100. Now I got a lot of purchases over $100 now, but that's definitely the best under $100 probably.
That is an awesome answer. I love that one. All right, we're good. Your favorite book or audiobook you listen to that's influenced your life or your business?
I really don't listen to a lot of real estate books. I'm more into business books, because I'm trying to build a business, not necessarily, a real estate business. I will say when I first got started, the one that kind of linked things together was this, what is it? That's the E-Myth for real estate investors. That was a really good one as far as like setting up, your business like a business, but kind of mix the real estate piece in there. It's not super detailed, so you kind of have to like go to a lot of sources to get the pieces of the puzzle, but it kind of gives you the map, and so that's really cool. And I'd recommend that for your listeners that want to actually build a business. Traction, I think, is really amazing and has really changed our business. It's a great business book. So those are two that I would definitely recommend. I haven't hit them up lately. I've read a ton of books. The negotiation book with the hostage negotiator, Never Split the Difference, is a great like sales negotiation book. So those are some ones that I really recommend.
That's awesome. This is going to sound terrible, but I've read the E-Myth. I never read the E-Myth for real estate investors. That sounds.
Yeah. And I never read the E-Myth. I honestly wish I would have read it, back when I had other businesses and stuff, but I've kind of always been a little hands off. So it was, I've kind of done those things in some ways anyways, but yeah, so that's kind of where we're at.
What would someone who knows you would say is your greatest weakness?
I think maybe my action taking might be in some ways, but it's also my greatest strength too. But I would say, my greatest weakness is probably like jumping into bed too quick with people, as far as, partnerships, or just kind of not doing my due diligence, enough is probably one of my greatest weaknesses, but also at the same time, probably one of the greatest strengths. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's funny. It's funny that you and I have that same shut up and do it is the whole reason. It's a strength and a weakness both at the same time, right? I'm with you on that.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
That's it. That's exactly right. Do you have any specific morning or evening routines that you'd want to share with us?
I do. It mostly revolves around kids nowadays, though, to be honest. I get up every morning, take the kids to school. Like, I try to keep it really nice and relaxing. I don't mess with work, before I get to work, or at least try not to, and really try to enjoy the mornings with the kids. It wasn't always like that, but that's really helped me to kind of like calm down a little bit. And then at night, I think it's extremely important to like get them to bed on time at the same time every single evening, and then just have kind of chill time with the phone or the computer turned off. Is pretty important. Although I haven't been as good at doing that lately, but that's definitely one thing that helps me, kind of calm down a little bit is turn the phone off. In fact, my phone at 7:30 automatically goes on do not disturb mode. And, unless you're in my contact, like a favorite, and I've only got 3 or 4 of those, the call won't come through at all. So, that's it. That's something that helps me out a lot.
That's a great tip, actually. That's a great tip to help you just be more present.
Yeah,
right?
and you can just set that up on your iPhone. It's to be more present, but and that honestly wasn't even my goal. It just, it feels like you get off your game, and some time to relax and decompress, I think is extremely valuable, especially for an entrepreneur under a lot of pressure and stress. So.
Yeah, 100%. Wow. Cool stuff, man. Is there a project or another new strategy or growth move you're doing that you're super, super excited about that you want to share?
We're really excited about the realty team, but what I'm really excited about is we're bringing on a director of marketing, and we're also bringing on a recruiter too, as well, which, we're at the point in our business where I feel like I can't move the needle anymore, and that's a good problem to have. Like, even a year ago, I could go out and close a big deal and it would put, lots of percentage points on our revenue. Now if I do that, I don't move the needle as much. Right. So really the only thing I can do is build a bigger, better, badder team, and really put my time and invest my time into team building, because together collectively they can move the needle a lot, but I can't personally do it anymore. So I'm really trying to make a really strict like kind of push into like kind of delegating a lot of tasks that I'm doing, but also making sure that some things that we're not doing well, like tracking our marketing and doing things that we really need to be, we're trying to put the right people in place. And the recruiter, I think, is a key position to that, because we have some pretty big growth plans of expanding east and west out along the I-10 corridor to kind of keep doing deals, well into Mississippi, even Louisiana, over, deep in Florida. So that's going to require, a really amazing team to pull it off. So we're really focusing on that at the moment.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. That's really, really cool. We're super psyched too. We also just hired a marketing director. Don't have a recruiter yet.
Cool. Yeah, we're gonna have to get up and see how we make it work. So.
For sure. And Jared, for people who want to connect with you, what's the best ways they can connect?
Yeah, you can hit me up on social media, Jared Irby on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, although I don't know my handle, but just search for Jared Irby and I'm sure you'll find it. And also, if you want to shoot me an email, jared@irby.co. I'm happy to help out with anything. We're always looking for, private lenders to work with, deploy some capital and, do some coaching and stuff like that as well. So definitely, love to connect up with anybody that needs some help or advice, but social media is probably the best way.
That's awesome. And for those of you guys watching, I only saw the demon face like 4 times in the mirror behind you. And there's a lot of white orbs. I'm not going to say that they're not just sun reflecting off of headlights. They are white orbs, I'm sure, floating in your mirror behind you. So for those listeners, you go back and I want you to watch this episode like 7 times and tell me where the demons are. That's what I want. So.
Yeah, you got to believe in it for it to get you. I'm telling you.
That's true. That's very true. Jared, man, it's been awesome having you on today. Thank you so much for your time, dude, for everything.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it, buddy.
For those of you guys listening, this was another episode with Jared Irby of Irby Group down in Mobile, Alabama, telling us all about he's crushing it in his small market and it's sharing some of his challenges. Please be sure to like and subscribe on this podcast button below you. If you're on YouTube or iTunes, you can always check us out at shutupanddoitrealestate.com. Jared, once again, man, thank you for your time today, brother.
Thanks, Nick. Have a good one, man.
You got it, man. Talk to you soon. See you guys in the next one.